here.
This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another game day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We got another late one tonight. Vegas, Sin City, Golden Knights, and the Winnipeg Jets. 9 p.m. puck drop tonight, which means Jets are just on the ice right now for their pregame skate. We'll hopefully have Scott Arneil for you later on in the program and just monitoring reports from the beat writers on what's happening at the morning skate with a little bit of interesting news, which we'll get into right away. But obviously, don't need to tell any of you, this is another big one for the Winnipeg Jets as they look to hold on to first place in the Central Division ahead of the Dallas Stars. Stars are in action tonight. They come into this evening 4 points back of Winnipeg, but with one game in hand after the Jets dropped that decision in LA to the Kings on Tuesday. It's Nashville and Dallas playing tonight as the Stars get back from their road trip and those back-to-back wins in Seattle. Coming up on the program, well, listen, it's Vegas. We usually like to check in with our old buddy Gary Lawless. We will do that coming up in just a few minutes. Brandon Rewucki will join us on the program as well to get his thoughts on the road ahead for the Jets to stay on top of the Dallas Stars in the Central. And then a little later on, we'll get into a broader NHL conversation. Big game last night between Toronto and Florida and our buddy Mike Zeisberger. It's been too long since we've had Zeiss on. We'll get a chance to see what he thinks about the Jets season so far, Connor Hellebuck's MVP candidacy, as well as the importance of finishing first, both in the Central Division for a team like the Jets and, of course, the Maple Leafs, who are in a similarly competitive Atlantic Division with three very, very good teams, and two of them going to be going head-to-head in the first round. Although, to be honest, when we're talking about the Atlantic, I don't think the Ottawa Senators are any pushover, especially if they're playing Toronto. They have owned the Maple Leafs so far this year. So we'll talk playoffs and more with Mike Zeisberger a little later on, and then Connor Hrabchak and I will return to get the latest from Scott Arneil. Speaking of Connor, he is in today and tomorrow. Remus is away for a couple days, so looking forward to chopping it up with him. Don't forget WST Sunday Live every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. right here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel, hosted by Connor along with Liz Hood and Jacob Stoller. Make that appointment viewing and listening as well. Just before we bring in Connor, I also want to thank our boy AZ, Andrew Zalondek, for helping us get on and off the air today. Great to have him back in the mix, and great to have such amazing support from the sponsors of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, our friends at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, the Prairie Toyota dealers, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, F Apparel, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, the Winnipeg Jets, Boston Pizza, Breezy Bend, and of course, fansfirst.ca. And we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGill. Very welcome, podcast listeners, and shout out to everybody with us in the WST chat getting ready for tonight's game. And welcome back to the big show, Connor Hrabchak. Connor, what's going on, buddy? It's great to have you back on the program. How are you?
It's great to be back. Thank you for having me. This is the best time of the year for hockey, man. Here in Winnipeg, we've got the race for the 1 seed, and you just look at the entire NHL schedule night after night, and there's just big games across the league. Teams fighting for playoff spots, team fighting for seeding, home ice advantage. it's getting that feeling. What is it? +4 Celsius today, getting that playoff feel around here these days. And nothing better than a matchup against Vegas. Hopefully the Jets can finally beat them. It's been a few years.
Well, listen, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, this like this week, we knew was going to be a big test, and the Jets did not pass the test in LA against the Kings. I mean, I'll say this: the Jets, in some ways, I think against the Kings, we talked about this yesterday, but I'll reset it with you, kind of got a taste of their own medicine. They have been so good at turning pucks over and being opportunistic on other teams' mistakes and scoring goals on the rush and taking advantage of, poor puck management. And Connor, I mean, if you wanted to learn a lesson the hard way, the Jets did it in a big way 2 nights ago at Crypto.com Arena, where it seemed like they made 3 ill-advised plays, and every one of them ended up in the back of their net, and none more costly or crushing than the one from Logan Stanley. After the Jets really did have some momentum, had cut the lead to 2-1, and seemed to be pressing, and all that was lost in a matter of about 10 seconds. And listen, you spot the Kings midway through the game, a multi-goal lead. Their record speaks for itself, 28-4-4. It's going to be real tough to make to grind out any points once you put yourself in that sort of a deficit.
Yeah, a lot of the time after the games, you'll hear the players and Scott Arneil talk, and it'll just be, kind of player speak or coach speak, and they'll say they liked their game or whatever. I 100% agreed with their assessment of the game, which was they handed LA the puck 3 times in some really inopportune moments, and LA converted 3 times. Outside of those 3 plays, I thought the Jets were the better team for the majority of the game, and the analytics were pretty even for throughout the majority of the game. But if you hand a team as good as LA multiple odd man rushes off the rush, 3-on-2s, they're going to convert, and they did just that. But I wasn't all too concerned with how the Jets played outside of that. So there's some bubble players in the lineup: David Gustafson, Colin Miller. Some turnovers in the first period led directly to goals, and a 2-goal deficit against the Kings on the road. That is not a spot to be in. You cut it to 1, and then the Logan Stanley turnover just felt really deflating in that moment for the Jets. But there wasn't too many concerns. Maybe the power play. I know you talked yesterday with Marc about that. 2 late power plays. With how good it's been this year, you'd like to see the Jets convert on one of those and get back into the game. But I overall liked their game on Tuesday night outside of those 3 turnovers. Excuse me.
We're paying attention to the reports coming out of Vegas right now with, and just speaking of Vegas, I mean, it's a similar test tonight. And you mentioned that the Jets have not had a lot of success against this team. In a lot of ways, I think this is a very good playoff primer for the Winnipeg Jets. I thought Tuesday was, and, we said you like the way they play, but, there's no consolation prizes right now, especially when Dallas is getting cupcakes every night and winning pretty much every time they go out. But Connor, this test against Vegas is going to be one of those games that, I think is, in a lot of ways, a test for what is going to come playoff time. Now, I will say this: the matchup and the styles against teams like Colorado, especially, and Dallas, albeit maybe not quite as fast, are different than the Pacific Division. And the Pacific Division and the Kings particularly feel like that is what you're going to see come playoffs, especially if you go far, because you'll be getting against teams that are big, they're strong, that you have to earn every inch of ice with. I'll say this: the Vegas Golden Knights have been very, very good against the Winnipeg Jets. When they've been at their best and the Jets have been struggling, they've kept them to the perimeter. And much like the Jets' goal was to get inside on the Kings, which they did, just didn't really capitalize on their chances. That is going to be the big challenge for Winnipeg when they go into T-Mobile tonight and try and grind out a way to get 2 points and stay ahead of the Dallas Stars.
And going into tonight, I mean, we don't even have the situation in front of us. It's not a 1-goal game, or we don't know that it's going to be that. But how nice would it be for the power play to get on the board tonight? This elite power play all season long, that offense is going to be hard to come by at 5-on-5. This is a game where you would like a goal or 2 out of your elite power play, even without Gabriel Velarde. And maybe, who knows, you guys talked yesterday about Alex Iafallo in that spot. Does he stay on the top unit? Is it maybe Cole Perfetti? Do they make a change there? But Vegas, another one of those big, fast, and strong teams, especially on the blue line. I haven't checked the stats on it, but I'd have to think they have the tallest or one of the tallest blue lines in the NHL. Just feels like it's just a forest back there with 6'4" defensemen, all defensively responsible, all can kill penalties, all physical. And those kind of teams are especially tough to get to the middle of the ice on. And then once you get there, you got to beat Adin Hill, who since the Four Nations break has been really good for Vegas as well. So it's been a while. I checked the game logs. I think it was game one of the playoffs when the Jets won game one and then lost 4 straight was the last time the Jets have beaten Vegas. The last time in the regular season was March of 2022. And the last time in the regular season in Vegas was January 1st of 2022. So it's been a long time since the Winnipeg Jets have won a regular season game in Vegas. And we'll see if they can do it tonight with Eric Comrie starting, or at least expected to start.
They are so due. They are so due for a win down in Vegas. Yeah, listen, let's get to it. I mean, you mentioned this, and this, I'll be honest, this is a surprise to me. I thought that we would see Hellebuyck tonight against Vegas and Comrie would go on Saturday. I would assume this means that Comrie's had his kid. So congratulations to the Comries. I don't have confirmation on that, but we knew that's why he wasn't there originally on the road trip. So I imagine that's good news for Combs and his lovely wife. So congratulations to them, assuming that did happen. But I'm just looking at what Ken's got coming out of this. And again, we'll hear from Scott Arneil later on for some clarification or confirmation. Here's how the lines are looking right now. Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo, Ehlers, Nemetsnikov, Perfetti, Niederreiter, Lowry, Appleton, Tanev, Barron, Jared Anderson, Dolan. And Gus is, and again, I'm just reading off Ken's tweet from the line rushes today. So that is not for sure. However, we all remember how that second goal happened, and that was David Gustafsson not being able to get the puck deep, losing the puck, and it going back and ending up in the back of the Winnipeg Jets net. I realize for head coaches, it's a heck of a lot easier to make an example out of a fourth line guy that could be in and could be out of the lineup. But you'd have to think, because Gustafsson's coming in, he scored on his first shift. I mean, I thought he acquitted himself quite well up until the LA game. Interesting that Anderson Dolan could potentially get into the lineup tonight. Kapari still seemingly not on the ice with the club. So one of the guys that has spent the majority of his season with the Moose could get a chance to get back into the lineup, Connor. But we're back to the lines that we'd seen for a long time before the shakeup in the aftermath of the Gabe Vilardi injury. And essentially, they're just moving Alex Iafallo up. Line 2 and 3 are what we've seen most of this year. And then a little bit of a different look on the fourth line with potentially Anderson Dolan coming in for Gus.
Yeah, we could talk about the defense core in a second here, but yeah, just on the up front, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. I agree with your assessment there. I think it's easier for coaches to make an example of a bubble forward than a guy on the top six or a defenseman that has to play due to injuries or what have you. So I think that's what you're seeing on that fourth line, maybe some energy here on a road trip against Vegas. And then the middle six, going back to what it was, I did really like the Nikolai Ehlers and Adam Lowry duo, regardless of who their winger was, right? Earlier in the year was Alex Iafallo. This time around is Mason Appleton, who I thought has elevated his game these last couple. And Marc was saying on the show yesterday that line was maybe the Jets' best at 5-on-5, and trying to get them back into the game, that line maybe had the biggest impact. And I agree. I thought they were the Jets' best forward line against LA. So I am interested to see, against a similar style of team, we're going back to now the old lines of Ehlers, Nemestikov, Perfetti. What is the common criticism of that line? They're too small to win in a playoff style environment. Well, tonight will be a playoff style environment against a playoff style opponent. We'll see how they fare. And then the third line, obviously, they've played so many minutes together over these past couple of seasons. We know what they're going to bring. They're going to be the Jets' identity line. But I will definitely be watching that Nemesnikov line up against a playoff style opponent, seeing how they fare. Because before they got broken up, they were good too, Huss. So this is going to be an interesting shakeup here in the forward core.
Well, hey, listen, Ehlers has been absolutely flying lately, being impactful in many different ways. And Cole Perfetti's playing the best hockey of his NHL career right now. So, I mean, those guys playing together, I think that does give them some more offensive pop. Although, I mean, Cole had scored in back-to-back games playing on that quote unquote third line, if you will. And I'm sure they can certainly go back to that, but I think there is something to be said about having that Lowry checking line together to go up against Jack Eichel, presumably, when they're able to get him on the ice head-to-head with that matchup. And listen, I think back to Game 3 of last year's season when they were trying Perfetti at center against the Golden Knights and how much they were running Cole. And, I mean, that was the end of the Perfetti at center experiment for Rick Bowness. It took 2.5 games, basically. Really looking forward to seeing how he performs tonight because he's been so good. He just looks like such a different player with so much more confidence and the ability to fight and battle against some of these bigger opponents. We saw him with, one of his best of the season last week against the Capitals, who are big and nasty as they come. Vegas is right up in that category as well. So that's the way things look. Ehlers, Nemestikov, Perfetti right now coming out of the morning skate. Things could change before the game, but Lowry back with Niederreiter and Appleton, and potentially Jared and Anderson Dolan getting into the lineup today with Morgan Barrett and Brandon Tanev. As far as the defense goes, Luke Schenn was on the ice, which is good news. Although the way Ken has this, I mean, obviously it's Morrissey and DeMello. Sandberg was still with Colin Miller. Now, I'm not sure whether that is just precautionary. If Schenn can't go, they're going to go with that. But Schenn was out there with Villy today. And Hayden Fleury was with Logan Stanley. And Stanley with Fleury, 2 lefties. He's on the right side. I mean, if Luke Schenn can go, he will play. But, I mean, they may want to be cautious right now with Luke. Obviously an older player. Yeah. Would you love to have him for tonight? Absolutely. Do you want to make for damn sure that he's as close to 100% come game 1? That's the priority right now. So we'll pay attention to this, and we'll hear from Scott Arneil a little bit later on. I think it speaks for itself the way the team looked without Pionk and without Schenn last game, Connor. That third pairing, if it's going to be Logan Stanley moving over to the right side and playing with Hayden Fleury, they're going to need to be a lot simpler than they were. I think that's the nicest way to put it. Just take care of business in your own end and get the puck up to the forwards and let them do their thing. But if that is the case, count on a ton of ice time for Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, and a heck of a lot for Dylan Sandberg, and I guess Colin Miller as well.
That's what I was going to say, is if this lineup continues as far as it goes, I mean, even into the playoffs, if there are injuries one way or the other, get Josh Morrissey an oxygen mask. Like, this guy's going to have to play 30 plus minutes a night if that's the Jets' third pair. We saw how they fared against LA, a great forechecking team. And then obviously you have the mistake from Logan Stanley as well. And I agree with you. I think it's worth noting that Ken has the Heinola-Schenn pairing as the fourth pairing, noting that Luke Schenn, while he's close to coming back into the lineup, probably won't be there. And also noting the fact that Ville Heinola, I can't even remember the last time he played. I guess it was against St. Louis, actually, that first game out of the Four Nations break. To throw him in cold on the road against Vegas would not be doing him any favors. So I think while Ken has it as Fleury Stanley as the third pair, I do think that's the pairing we'll see tonight. Hopefully Luke Schenn can go. But like you said, it's all about getting these guys 100% healthy for game 1. And Neil Pionk, Ken notes, was on the ice again, but remains in the ramping up stage of his recovery. So the Jets blue line needs to get healthy soon here, but as long as the focus is having them healthy for game 1, I think that's the right mindset to have.
Hey, shout out to one of our great supporters, Stan Scott, who just dropped in the chat. And this is a good bit of perspective, I think, for everyone that's freaking out when the team loses one game. To be honest, the Jets are 7-3 in their last 10. I didn't think they can be expected to win every game, or I don't think they can be expected to win every game. If somehow Dallas uses its softer schedule to overtake them, I guess it is what it is. I mean, Connor, let's face it. It really does seem like, with the loss to LA and, knowing that Dallas has Nashville tonight, this is probably going to get tighter as opposed to getting a bigger gap. And that's all going to come down to next Thursday in Dallas. Is head-to-head between these two games. I mean, I think if either team can win that game in regulation, that team's probably going to be the one that avoids the Avalanche in the first round.
Huss, this is where I was at Tuesday night. All right, the Jets were down 2-0 to the Kings after the first, and they play the runway episode of the Jets beating the Stars. And I was already doing the math of the standings. I was like, Jets are down 2 to the Kings. Like, this is not looking good. And then they play that game, and I'm like, what if they had lost that game? Like, that game looks so much bigger now in retrospect, because here we all are all freaking out. Dallas has won 6 straight. Now the gap is 4 points with a game in hand. That could be 2 with a game in hand, or 3 with a game in hand if Dallas got that game to overtime, or Dallas won that game. So that was such a key win for the Jets. But like you said, it looks like they're going to have to do it again on April 10th, because Dallas keeps winning. Their schedule does not seem difficult at all. I mean, Nashville's had some weird wins this year, so maybe Nashville can go on the road and surprise here. But yeah, this is going to be a massive priority for the Jets down the stretch here, is to get that 1 seed, because not only does Colorado look like one of the best teams in the league right now, but Gabriel Landeskog has been on the ice taking contact. There was a quote today from Eric Johnson, a defenseman on the Colorado Avalanche, saying it's not a matter of if he'll come back at this point, it's when. So if that team, as stacked as they are right now, adds Gabriel Landeskog for round 1 of a playoff series, I mean, Gabriel Landeskog hasn't played in how many years? You can't count on him being the same player, but he's still an addition over some of their depth options. So that would just be very scary. And the Jets have a lot of work cut out for them down the stretch here.
You know what? I mean, I still go back to, and listen, Colorado is, I guess, a different team now. I mean, no team has made more moves as this year. They've got brand new goaltending. They have added new centers. Rantanen is gone. But the Jets have played, I mean, 2 shutouts for Connor Hellebuyck against the Avs so far this season. But again, it's scar tissue from last year. And we'll be saying, if it does end up they're playing Colorado, it's, hey, you know what? You're going to win the Stanley Cup. You're going to have to beat great teams. I think we all realize, though, the path to long-term playoff success is to not be in the toughest matchup in the entire NHL in the first round. It would be to be playing one of those wild card teams. And certainly the Jets do still control their own destiny, albeit it seems like the margin for error feels like it's absolutely zero right now with what the Dallas Stars have been doing as of late. So there you have it. I mean, it looks like Connery and net tonight. We'll wait to hear on Luke Schen's availability, and the old Lowry line, Nino and Apples on his wings, and Vlad in between Ehlers and Perfetti back together for tonight's game. Now, we're going to bring Gary Lawless in just a second, Connor. I do want to ask you if you caught the third period of the Canes-Caps game. And listen, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Ovechkin. He did score a goal last night. He's within 3 of the record. But things got absolutely out of hand yesterday. Tom Wilson going after Logan Stankoven, and that set off the Hurricanes. And we saw, honestly, one of the most dangerous plays I've seen in hockey in a very, very long time. Have you seen this incident with Mr. Chatfield and Connor McLennan last night?
How could I not have? This was all over my feed. This was incredibly dirty. I don't think there's any other way to put it. But
okay, yes, listen, podcast listeners will walk you through this. For folks that haven't seen it and are with us on YouTube, Andrew, if you can, let's play this clip right now, and we'll take you through. So this is the third period. The Canes are running away with the game, and some nastiness coming out. This was so here's Chatfield now. They're fighting. Everyone's got a grab, leg out, judo takedown into a choke slam that would make the Undertaker proud. Like when I watch this, Connor, the fact that McLennan's head did not hit the ice in a more violent fashion, again, for people that are listening, both had their helmets off, was incredibly fortunate. I was stunned that there was not anything from NHL player safety on this. And to be honest, I do worry as things get nastier and more heated and more violent as we get into the playoffs. For my opinion, a huge missed opportunity for player safety to step in and set a bar, because if that is allowed, if we're good with that when people are fighting, they're asking for a disastrous situation, because I mean that literally was a UFC move in a hockey fight, and McClellan, could have ended up in hospital. I mean, you get your head smashed into the ice, that sort of power and velocity, terrible things can happen. And I was blown away that there was nothing more from George Parros and the boys.
If you didn't need more evidence of this, because no one wants to see more evidence of this, but the Department of Player Safety forever now has been suspending players based on the result over the action. And I think this is like the number one exhibit A example of that. If Connor McMichael's head hits the ice there, or his neck hits the ice, or something bad happens to him, Jalen Chatfield gets suspended for this. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that if there was a bad outcome to this scenario, he gets suspended because they dodged the worst case scenario. There's no suspension. I find that absolutely ridiculous. It gives off a message that if you toe the line as best as you can and play as dirty as possible, as long as the other player doesn't get hurt and you barely dodge like an incredibly dangerous scenario, you're fine. That's a very dangerous precedent to set. And I can't believe that there was no suspension for that. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. There's no room in hockey for a slew foot.
Let me throw this to the chat. We'll see what Rewucki's got to say about it when he joins us as well. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp but Waverly and McGillivray? Is that just part of a fight, or should there have been supplemental discipline from the National Hockey League on that play to prevent those from happening again? Let us know right now in the chat for the old why not question of the day. There's already a ton of comments here. We may as well get right into a fan feedback from Fans First. Of course, Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market with no fees, people. What you see is what you pay. And of course, a great service for people with extra tickets as well to sell. Great customer service. You know exactly what you're going to get, and you get paid in full the next business day after the game. Let's see here. T. Will, you don't see judo throws in NHL fights very often. Comment, yikes, that is MMA. I see a Jerry Blackwell blast from Darwin Moore. Let's see right now. Jude says there's no rules in fighting. It's not legal in the first place. And there is something to be said for that. Like, I would think that is the definition of attempt to injure. Well, in a hockey fight, you're punching a guy in the face. Like, okay, I get it. That is by definition attempt to injure as well. But, I mean, where do you drop the line? Can you kick a guy in the nuts in a fight? Can you eye gouge him? I mean, at what point do they say, wait a second, this is way over the line, you can't do that? I don't know what the answer is, but I'll tell you, the answer should include something like that before somebody gets killed. John Cutler says player safety we know is a joke. Only slightly more credible is NHL officiating. Player safety, T-Will's on fire here. Player safety, punch a guy in the face, totally fine. Throw him to the ground, 5-game suspension. That's a pretty tough line to walk. Well, this isn't throwing a guy to the ground. As I said, I think people will have different opinions on this. Jay Miller, no rule for this, no suspension. They could have easily suspended him. I mean, they could say it's a non-hockey, violent, dangerous act, attempt to injure, whatever. I don't think we could just say because guys have dropped the gloves, anything goes. As I said, what if a guy kicked a guy in the nuts during a fight? What if he eye gouged him? Like, I'm pretty sure that is going to get a call from George Parros. So when guys have their helmets off and you're swinging around, I mean, what if a guy picked up a guy and did a tombstone pile driver in a fight? Is that just part of fighting? I mean, I don't know. Keep your comments coming into the chat. We'll talk about this more with Brandon coming up in a few minutes. Fans First, fan feedback, brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Shout out to them. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, we're going to kick it with Gary in a minute. Out in Vegas, getting ready for tonight. Check in on the Manitobans on the Vegas Golden Knights and how the team's looking coming into tonight. The thoughts on the Jets and the playoffs and this crazy race right now in the West. Before that, though, gang, if you have a move coming up in the spring and summer, let our friends at Rollies help you out with that. Family owned and operated for over 60 years. And the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Check out their website at rollies.ca. Find out everything about their years of service in Manitoba, what makes them tick. But in the top right corner, there's a request an estimate feature. Click on that. Let them know when and where you're moving. But first, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know what needs to be moved to your new destination. The friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quick with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rollies has been famous for now into their 7th decade in Winnipeg. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies, proud sponsor of WST. Check out the WST truck on the road as well with their friends at Rollies. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. There's a lot of spring cleaning going on around right now. It might be your home. It might be your yard. What about your mouth? Folks, if it's been a minute since you've been to the dentist, maybe it's time to change that and get that smile looking as good as it's ever been heading into the new seasons. For that, you should head down to St. Vital Dental Center, serving generations of Winnipeggers with our pal Dr. Terry and his amazing staff down at 167 St. Anne's. Free parking right in the back of the building. It couldn't be more it couldn't be easier to get in there, and wonderful service, the latest dental technology, and a great group of people there that'll even put the marble race on for you if you got a Friday afternoon appointment. For all your dental needs, you and your family get taken great care of by Dr. Terry and the team at St. Vital Dental Center, 167 St. Anne's. Find out more online today or book an appointment at stvitalddental.ca. A big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club. Weekend just around the corner. Bomber season just around the corner. Of course, the Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Bombers, and we'll be enjoying those CC and Gingers and more at Princess Auto Stadium coming up. But for right now, support Canadian. And if you're looking for Canadian whiskey, make it the original Canadian Club. Canadian Club 100% rye, Canadian Club Classic, available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And just before we get to Vegas and fire it up, Manitoba Battery, long-term partner of ours, the go-to spot for batteries, for literally everything. They got us through the winter with the cars and trucks. Now we're going to be thinking boats. We're going to be thinking ATVs. We're going to be thinking all sorts of fun things for spring and summer. Well, be ready to go the second you can work those with Manitoba Battery, your local option where you will shop local, save money, get the best prices in town, and on top of it all, the best service. They'll deliver the batteries to you for free anywhere inside the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. 2 locations, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive, or shop online at manitobabattery.com. All right, Brandon Rewucki still to come. Connor and I will get Scott Arneil later on, hopefully when that becomes available. Mike Zeisberger coming up as well. But it's Jets, it's Golden Knights. Of course, we got to hook up with our pal Gary Lawless in Vegas. Let's bring the big man in now. All right, let's head out to Vegas and catch up with our pal Gary Lawless before a battle of the first place teams in the Pacific and Central Division. What's going on, boss? How are you?
Why aren't you here? Like, it's interesting. Normally this week is when the Jets are in Vegas. It can kind of be a little bit of a hell week for me because I have friends down on the strip and, hey, come on down, come drinking. And then, like, my daughter has hockey practice at 5 a.m. Like, it's my life doesn't stop because you're playing Nick Cage for a week, but because you're not here. Last night I got the my wife's brother, fantastic guy, and his beautiful wife, and their 2 lovely kids are in town, and they we ended up at Dave and Buster's last night.
Big fan of Dave and Buster's, to be honest. That I
seriously,
I still have time for Dave and Buster's. Absolutely.
Like it is a hellscape. Like the food is atrocious. it's not atrocious. It's good at what they're. Yeah, it's not good for you,
You're telling
right?
me the
You know
meal
what I mean?
at Dave & Buster's wasn't as good as the one you took for me the last time we were in Vegas?
No, it was not as good as a Carbone at Aria. No, it was not the same. Not the same cuisine. And then I played Halo with my nephew Owen, and you know me, I'm not really a video game guy. I throttle him. The fact that he's, oh yeah, I gave him the business. He's 7. You know.
Listen, I've taken a few L's from 7-year-olds online before, Gary.
Seriously, his motor skills are still developing. Yeah. Anyways,
let's get. Well, listen, I would have loved to have been there. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Maybe there'll be an opportunity to do that a little later on in the playoffs. But there's a long ways to go before that.
Oh, there is. Yeah, the next 2 weeks are big weeks for the Jets.
Well, for sure, and I guess pretty comfortable spot. And I mean, you never feel that way, but Vegas is playing some good hockey. The team's getting healthier right now, and has opened up a bit of a lead in the Pacific Division after it being pretty tight for a good portion of the Four Nations period.
Yeah, they had won 6 in a row prior to their loss to Edmonton the other night, and they really played quite well in that game, except for about 15 minutes of the second period, and Leon Draisaitl went to work. He is I haven't seen McKinnon in a while. Draisaitl, I think, is going to be the Hart Trophy winner, and he is. Him and McDavid, McKinnon.
Are you saying that to poke me, or why would you say that?
Poke you for what?
We have Connor Hellebuyck. That
the Vezina trophies for goalies.
Of being the third goalie ever in the history of the National Hockey League outside of Jacques Plante and Bernie Parent to lead the league in wins and shutouts and goals against average and save percentage. If not this year, when for a goaltender, Gary?
It's not, sorry, I didn't mean to offend your Winnipeg sensibilities. I don't really think goalie when I think Hart, and I don't vote for it. I'm not a member of the Professional Hockey Writers Association anymore, so I don't put a lot of thought into it. I vote for the Jack Adams, and Scott Arneil is right near the top of my list for that. So that is one race that I have paid a little more attention to. Anyways, back to Leon Draisaitl.
Hrabchak when he was winning his Hart trophies did not run the table.
Why are we talking about Leon and that you
brought up Leon?
You take offense to this
trophy, and you did that on purpose.
Well, he probably will. No, I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't know that you and Chuck Hellebuyck were so.
Hey,
sorry.
I don't know.
I'm getting a phone call and I can't take it because I'm talking to you. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to get you and Chuck Hellebuyck worked up this morning. So Connor Hellebuck's gonna win the Hart. Second place should go, I think, to Leon Draisaitl, because now everyone in Edmonton's mad at me. There's just a no-win morning for Gary.
Well, hey, you know what?
Anyways, Draisaitl was awesome.
Yeah, in all seriousness, talking about the Hart, I mean, if you look at the betting odds, it is between Hellebuyck and Draisaitl. McKinnon is third. The more I talk to people from around the league about, the candidates outside of maybe the guys on the betting list at top 2, the name Jack Eichel comes up a lot. Like you've watched this guy since he's become a Vegas Golden Knight. He's become a champion. Where is his game at this year? Has he taken a step up? And I mean, listen, I know you'd probably be a little biased for Jack, but he probably does deserve some consideration. How much has he driven the success of the Knights this year?
Well, he should have won the Conn Smythe the year the Vegas won the Stanley Cup. And other than the Stanley Cup, that's the most important award. Because which guy lifts his game at the most important time of the year? And Jack is, it's interesting. He's got 93 points. And that was done out of necessity. Marchessault, Stevenson, Amadio, Carrier, they all left. They had to find a way to get offense from other places. And Jack just lifted his game in that area, but did not his defensive game did not suffer at all. He's number one in the league in 5-on-5 goal differential amongst forwards. He's first over the boards to kill penalties. He plays against top players every night. Barkov's going to win the Selke, and it's a legacy pick. You got to dig a little deeper here. Jack has had a tremendous year. So, the fact that he's right now he's the best defensive center in the NHL, and he's got 93 points, and his team is vying to win its division. Yeah, he should for sure be in the Hart conversation. But there's really no conversation because according to you, it's
over.
Connor Hellebuyck's name's already been engraved on the trophy.
I thought Jack should get consideration to be a finalist. He's definitely not going to win the trophy.
Thanks for throwing us a bone.
I will. Hey, you know what? I do what I can do. How's Marc Stone doing? I always like checking in on the Manitobans. I mean, 66 points in 60 games. We saw him make an impact at the Four Nations, and had missed some games before that. He's been a guy that had missed a lot of time before playoffs in recent years. Where's his game at right now as you guys get ready for the most important time of the season?
He's ramping it up. I think it was really hard for him after a Four Nations to be as emotionally invested in Tuesday night against Columbus in Columbus. No disrespect to I got to stop saying that. That's really unfair to Columbus. It's one of my favorite spots to visit in the NHL.
It's a great dive bar.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're gonna. They were, it was a real great story for a long time. They're two back of Montreal, right? Yeah, so there's lots can happen still. Anyways, it was a little hard for him, I think, to be as emotionally up for games right after Four Nations for regular season games, but he's a total gamer and wants to win more Stanley Cups more than anything else. So I would expect he'll be tremendous come game one of the he's been good lately as well, but he'll there's another level to come from Marc Stone and Jack Eichel. They've proven that.
Hey, just on Four Nations, and particularly with Stone being a Winnipeg guy that won it with Canada. He's been at the top of the mountain in the National Hockey League. He's played in the Olympics. But you have unique access to these players around the team. I mean, what did he have to say about just the entire experience from his expectations beforehand to what that tournament turned into?
Oh, he loved it. He was it's really interesting when you go to these events, the players, this is actually funny. This is good for Winnipeg. When you go to these events, the players give the media that covers them on a day-to-day basis more access. They appreciate you going to these events to tell their story, except for Blake Wheeler, who, when I went to, this was during the Atlanta 7 freeze out. When I went to Sochi, Blake Wheeler saw me watching Team USA practice, and he texted Scott Brown back in Winnipeg, tell Lawless that Winnipeg rules apply in Russia as well. I'm not speaking to him. That's a great story.
I remember the peace treaty in Anaheim where we finally got over all of that.
Yes. Yeah. Anyways, Marc had a blast. Had his wife and his daughters there, and they got to spend time. Team Canada didn't practice a lot, so if there was an off day, it was usually bundle everybody up and walk the streets of Montreal or Boston, do some shopping, have lunch, and then just get ready for the games. And Marc played great in the tournament. I will say this on the topic of Winnipeg. Mark Scheifele should have been there. He was, Mark Scheifele, Tom Wilson. It was both of those guys could have helped Canada widen the gap. They won in overtime, but those guys could have been good players. I would have loved to have seen what Matthew Tkachuk would have done at the opening face-off of USA versus Canada if Tom Wilson had been standing beside him.
Safe to say we were saying the exact same thing in Boston, watching the game. If only Wilson could have been in red and white.
Yes.
Hey, listen, Marc Stone, obviously the most prominent Winnipegger, but there's so much Manitoba content in this club and has been since the start. But I mean, Keegan Coloson, Brett Howden, both of these guys having career years, and really, I mean, listen, they can play up and down the lineup. They're usually in the bottom six, but how important have those two been in their emergence in the success that the team's had?
Keegan Coloson? Did he become Swedish all of a sudden? You said Coloson. You merged Olofsson and Kolesar.
I did not pull a Lawless. I did not pull a Lawless. My alliteration is great. But people check the tape. I say this is hearing problems on my illustrious guest. Kolesar and Howden.
Keegan has 12 goals, and he hits like a truck every night. You look at the sheet at the end of the night, and it's 5, 6, 7 hits. He's been tremendous.
And what was Howden's contract?
Yeah, Brett Howden signed. I think it's 6 years at $2 million a year, and he's got 22 goals. When Kelly McCrimmon traded for Brett, the Rangers, like, his career was a life sport. The Rangers had given up on him. Kelly got him for a 4th round pick, and I remember asking him, why are you trading for him? And he looked at me and he said, I'm betting on the person. And good bet. Really popular teammate. Has a nice young family here. His wife is from Oakbank as well. It's kind of a high school romance there. She's a lovely lady. And they got Charlie and Olivia are their kids. And his mom and Brett's mom and dad come around quite a bit. Keegan's mom comes to town quite a bit. But she might even be living in Vegas right now. So we see them around the rink quite a bit, and they're great people. So good stories, good Manitoba stories throughout the lineup.
Well, and listen, Gary, speaking of great Manitoba stories, I mean, the story of Zach Whitecloud and how he's emerged into, not just an NHLer, but a guy that one of the top teams leans on every single night for important minutes is something. I mean, how far is he along now in his game and his importance to the Knights than when he broke in?
Yeah, he's, a real piece of one of the things that they like to sort of hang their hat on here is, the 4 really good centers and 6 deep in terms of the regular guys. Like, Ben Hutton has played 1 game in like the last 53 for the Golden Knights. He just can't get in the lineup because Whitecloud and Haig, who are kind of the younger guys that are regulars, have been so good. Korzak has been playing, another Western League guy, has been playing while Alex Pietrangelo has been dealing with something. But they got 8 really good D here, and Zach is just a fantastic guy. A really good teammate, works hard on his game, has gotten better and better every year, and is just a real big, important piece. He's a leader here now. That's the big thing. He's gone from a young guy that came in as a college free agent, played in the American League, won a Stanley Cup, but now he's an important voice in the dressing room.
Hey, listen, Gary Lawless is with us. Jets Vegas tonight in Sin City. Hey, before we go, I mean, you're talking to people from around the league. I know you still pay attention. Thoughts on the Jets, their season so far, and the task at hand over the final 8 games to stay ahead of Dallas?
Well, I view that as the 2-3 series in the Central as the one series you don't want to be a part of. I would imagine the people in the Atlantic are looking right now. It's Tampa and Florida. That's a series you don't want to be a part of. If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you want to stay atop that. If you're Vegas, you don't want to play LA or Edmonton in the first round. But, what Colorado did at the deadline and what they've done, changing their goalies out during this season, Colorado to me is the scariest team in the West in the first round. You don't want anything to do with Colorado. So, the Jets are 4 up. Dallas has got a game in hand. I think they play each other on April 10th. These games are must wins for Winnipeg right now. You don't want to. We've had this great season, and there's all these great stories there. Hrabchak, Arneil, the team. You don't want to have a first round matchup that is that problematic. You'd like to have. You'd like to get the easier path and worry about Colorado or Dallas in the second round after they've been lumped up a little bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the way things look right now with what St. Louis is doing and Minnesota losing last night, that could very well be seeing Vegas against St. Louis. That would have some juicy storylines with Pietrangelo and obviously the incredible run of the Blues in the second half of the season. All right, you're obviously quite busy. We will let you get back to your game day duties. Always love having you on the program. You take it easy, enjoy the game tonight, and maybe we can catch up in and around the playoffs.
Are you okay now?
Are you okay?
I'm fine. But just, you got so upset about.
You're multitasking.
We got that. What's new about that? We did radio for 11 years.
I wanted to tell people this is basically what it was like in the studio for 7 years. But they can see me trying to get your attention. Anyways, it's good times. I hope there'll be an opportunity to see you down in Vegas later on in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes. But first things first, should be a good one tonight. Have a good one, and we'll catch up soon. All right, there. Nothing like the old H&L reunions on WST. Yes, he was distracted. He came with terrible takes about the Hart Trophy. But we had some laughs, as we always do. Big game tonight, Jets in Vegas, 9 p.m. this evening. And we'll have more on that. We're going to actually get to the latest on the Jets with Brandon Rewucki coming up in just a minute. We're going to hit a number of topics around the NHL with Zeiss later on. We'll be looking to get Scott Arneil for you before the end of the program, and Connor and I will get back at it after our next couple guests. But before we do that, a huge thanks to Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, it won't be long before we're at Princess Auto Stadium cheering on the Bombers. But Princess Auto is waiting for you with 3 Winnipeg and Manitoba locations where you'll find the best deals and the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new, waiting for you at Princess Auto. So pop by and see them on Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, are out in Brandon. And of course, you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Well, it's kind of funny that we just had Gary on. I've had some good times at Aikens Lake with Gary over the years. And Aikens is a one-of-a-kind Manitoba jewel. And if you're thinking about maybe staying north of the border for summer holidays this year, why don't you think about a world-class fly-in fishing experience at the Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. World-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality is waiting for you, whether you're going with friends, a family, a corporate retreat. So much waiting for you at Aikens Lake. Find out more on availability and options for the 2025 season at aikenslake.com, and check them out on all their social feeds over at Aikens Lake. And hey, fellas, we're getting into spring and summer. You need to up your menswear game. pop down and see our pals down at F Apparel, the #1 spot for custom men's clothing, including custom suits starting at just $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories around. Couple big promos right now. If you've got a grad in the family or you're graduating this year, they'll hook you up with a free custom shirt and tie with the purchase of any shirt. And of course, they've always got their great discounts for wedding parties when the fellas get their suits for the big day at F Apparel. You can find out more online at that's EPHapparel.com. Book a fitting as well, or pop down and see them at 190 Smith Street downtown. All right. It is time to get back to the Jets. We're going to bring in our pal Brandon Rewucki, the host of Skates and Plates. And just as we do that, I'll remind you all and let you know that this segment is a presentation of your Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to tell you about a great new contest they've got going now. The grand prize, gang, includes a signed Marc Scheifele jersey, a Connor Hellebuck signed jersey, and some other great WST merch. The retail of the grand prize is $960. Here's what you do. Enter for your chance to win by visiting Prairie Toyota Dealers on Instagram at Prairie Toyota Dealers, or on Facebook at Prairie Toyota to enter. You can click on the link in the description of this video to take you right there. Get entered. Good luck for that amazing grand prize of the signed Scheifele and Hellebuck jerseys, courtesy of Prairie Toyota Dealers, who also want to remind you to get in and go and shop Toyota.ca today. Get familiar with the latest lineup of Toyota vehicles in the prairies, offering a wide selection of vehicles forges Toyota's commitment to quality, including fuel-efficient hybrids perfect for city driving and SUVs to make the most of the seasons. Browse their inventory and schedule a test drive in your dream Toyota today. All right, Brandon Rewucki is with us. Rue, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I missed the lawman's heart take, so I'm potentially interested in that. But doing good.
He
doing good.
just basically wrote off. He was one of these. It's the laziest take in all of hockey. Wow, there's a trophy for the goalies. It's the Vezina. Nothing triggers me more than that right now.
There's trophies for a lot of positions. So I mean, there's a trophy for a defenseman. There's a trophy for defensive leaning forwards. There's all kinds of trophies out there. I didn't think that the Hart Trophy definition included an embargo on goaltenders winning it. So you're right. That's a take that I wasn't expecting.
I would gladly argue. Partly, I think that he was doing that to trigger me because he knew that we would get into it, and I didn't even tell him about the bets that I have on Hellebuck from earlier in the season at 20-1, 25-1. But that's not what we're here to discuss right now. Although it is weird. I have been paying attention to the odds at CoolBet. Like last night, the odds went heavily in favor of Draisaitl. Neither of the teams played. Like, I don't really understand. What is clear is that it takes a historic season from a goalie, especially playing in a small market like Winnipeg, even if you're the top team in the damn league all year, to get legitimate consideration. And I don't know. I mean, I think, listen, Draisaitl is an incredible player. He's got 4 50-goal seasons. Connor McDavid usually gets the attention. So on a down year, with Connor not, playing as much and not really in the mix for it, some people probably feel, it's Leon's turn, which is BS. Hellebuck is doing historic things this year. Dominik Hasek didn't run the table with wins, shutouts, goals against average, and save percentage when he won his Hart Trophy. So I just ask everyone that says that, if a goalie can't win it this year with the number that Hellebuck's putting up, just tell us that they're not eligible for the damn award, and we'll move on. But let's get to it. What were your takeaways from Tuesday in LA before we dive into tonight?
The Kings played like the Jets owed them money. They were ferocious. I mean, I know it's always hard watching it from the Winnipeg perspective to give a whole lot of props to the other team and maybe, give them credit for the victory. But that's kind of how I saw that game. Is LA came out firing, and the Jets didn't really have much of an answer for them. So, I mean, first and foremost, the Kings played a great game. but it was also a pretty interesting, I thought, almost microcosm of what playoff hockey is like, and maybe some cold hard look at lineup decisions that need to be made by the coaching staff, where all it takes is 1-2 little mistakes, and a game that might be a 1-goal game can turn into a landslide and a series deficit really quickly. And I think highlighted by the Logan Stanley debacle in the second period there that led to the Kings kind of breaking that game open when it looked like for a second it was going to be maybe tilting back towards Winnipeg's favor. So a cold hard reminder that, B games aren't good enough in the playoffs, and that maybe the lineup as it's currently constructed, albeit with injuries for sure, but needs a bit of a rejig heading into the final some odd games here. And that's the other thing too, Huss. There's no margin for error in the postseason. There's no margin error for the Jets right now with a couple games left because the Dallas Stars just refuse to stop winning. So if you want to have that top seed in the West and potential President's Trophy, it's going to have to be near perfection the rest of the way if they want to pull that off.
A debacle is a perfect one-word description of that play. And I'll say this, I mean, you got to be fair both ways. I know Stanley's been a lightning rod. I thought that he was really good in the first 3 games when he came out of the press box. I thought it got a little sketchy against Vancouver on Sunday afternoon. And then, in what kind of feels like a ticking time bomb, a bad decision, a bad mistake at a bad time. And here's credit to the Kings. I mean, the Jets made 3 bad plays and turnovers. They all ended up right in the back of the net. And I mean, listen, you'd like to be able to maybe have the goaltender who has been, as we just said, the best player in the National Hockey League this year, maybe grab one of those. The second goal, there was absolutely zero chance on. The first one was a deflection from the side of the net off a puck that was immediately shot off the turnover. And then, we talked about Kuzmenko's goal off of Stanley. I mean, a lot of that was self-inflicted, which made that game frustrating because I'm with you. I thought the Kings were really good, but I thought the Jets did a lot of really good things too. Now, hey, listen, you got to have finish. You got to be able to make the most of your opportunities. Loved Cole Perfetti's goal. But that play after they'd come back from 2-0, they got it to within 1. They were pushing. It just felt that took all the wind out of the sails. And listen, LA is now 28-4-4. You spot them a couple goal lead, especially later on in the game, it's over. And we'll see if they can get a better result tonight. Now we're waiting, and we'll hear from Scott Arneil hopefully later on. Ken, of course, is in Vegas right now. And I'm not sure if you've seen this, but some tinkering with the lines and tinkering with the power play unit. First of all, I have fellows staying with Scheifele and Connor, but the second and third lines have been switched up. They're going back to Lowry, Niederreiter, Appleton. Perfetti is playing with Ehlers and Nemestikov. And I'm not surprised we're seeing that again. Maybe against a team like Vegas, I thought that might wait a game to keep with where they'd been at before. But we'll get your thoughts on that. But the other thing that seems to be, and again, we'll get confirmation on this, but the line rushes had Jared Anderson Dolan skating with Brandon Tanev and Morgan Barron. And, maybe that's a tough way to reinforce a point, because as much as we were talking about Logan Stanley's position, he was in that spot because both Pionk and Luke Schenn were injured. The Gustafson play compounded the problem after the team was down 1-0 after that bad play from Miller to Scheifele on the wall.
And I mean, sometimes it's easier to make switch ups on the bottom line or the bottom pairing to kind of like almost make an example out of them for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So I mean, we haven't seen Anderson Dolan at all since October or September, whenever preseason was. So, it's not going to be a major difference one way or the other there. But I mean, the lineup switch up that you mentioned is, I mean, it's good in the sense that Perfetti has earned a spot higher up in the lineup, right? If you're going to call that the second line or the, secondary scoring line at the very least, hoping for a little more punch from everybody involved there is probably a good way to go. And I have but the way he's playing, and even though he's had a bit of a bugaboo against Vegas in the past, it's, hey, let's get this kid more minutes, and then whatever it takes to do that, let's make it happen. So I'm good with that move there. The only thing is, it's just, and this is what we talked about maybe a week or two ago, is that when things go bad for the Jets, or they're looking for a shakeup or a bit of a spark, they have no experience with different lineup combinations at all this season. They are so abnormally staunch in going with the same three guys in the top 9 over and over and over again. And again, to their credit, it's worked. But what's plan B if plan A isn't going? That's always been my concern about this, right? And it's easy to make these moves when you're, first place in the NHL. But I just, there's a part of me that does wonder come playoff time. And when you get into situations like that game against LA, we'll see what happens against the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. I wouldn't mind, even knowing how important these last few games are, doing a little more experimenting within that middle six, if you will. But we'll see how it plays out tonight. And it might just be that, going back to the well and something that's been old and reliable is going to be able to get them a big 2 points against a really good team. The power play, though, is going to be intriguing as well to see how that shakes up here, because by all accounts, it doesn't sound like Gabe Vilardi's coming through the door anytime soon. And I don't really have a good answer on how to replace him, because he's almost a unicorn in a sense, right, Huss? Like, how many guys can do what he does net front in terms of scoring and playmaking from that spot? Hands.
Nobody on this team.
Not too many guys. Nobody. Yeah. So it's like, what do you try and do somewhat of a like for like replacement in Iafallo, or do you wonder at some point if maybe Cole Perfetti gets a shot there, and you have
funny
to
you say that.
Funny
you say that, Brandon, and funny you ask that question, because from Ken, Jets tinkering with power play units as well. Cole Perfetti, as I talked about with Marc, would not be surprised to see it happen. He's been promoted to the top unit, so it's going to be Perfetti, Morrissey, Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers, which leaves PP2 with the Metsnikov, Miller, Iafallo, Niederreiter, and Appleton. I wouldn't be surprised if PP1 is playing 1 minute 40 seconds of the power play. Basically, Oilers-style power play, where the unit goes out, plays the entire thing, and then the checking line comes out afterwards as those guys catch their breath. But can't say that I'm surprised. We talked about 2 potential changes if they were going to move Iafallo from the top power play unit. One was a similar type of player with a net front presence. That would have been Nino Niederreiter. The other, Cole Perfetti. And listen, my first choice was Perfetti. I think the way that he's playing right now, I mean, he's feeling it. He's hot. He's scored in the last couple of games. Why not give him an opportunity to try and give a little bit of pop? And you know what? I think I'll make the argument that Cole Perfetti does have the opportunity to really give a bolt of energy, if you will, to that power play unit, because the way that he's playing and listen, the vision that he has. If they're looking for someone that can make some of the beautiful passes and see the ice the way Vilardi does, albeit not have that net front presence, Cole Perfetti is that guy. Would you rather have Vilardi? Yes. If he's not there right now, I'm totally here with seeing how Perfetti can maybe work in on PP1.
Find them experimenting with Iafallo there, because it makes sense. You want to try to have as little disruption to what was one of the best power plays in league history. Like you want to try to keep things as close to similar as it had been there. So like the thought process to me made sense, but it's clearly not operating at the same efficiency that it was. And so you have to make changes here. And I think unfortunately too, this kind of points to the fact that they're not really expecting Gabe Vilardi to come back anytime soon, because I think if they were, maybe you do stick with Iafallo there, but they're going to have to get a little bit creative, a little bit imaginative in terms of almost maybe turning Perfetti into more of a wild card than a pure swap for Vilardi in and around the net there. But there's no reason that, Cole's not afraid to get in the dirty areas. He might, no, he's not 220 and going to be a screen and things like that in front of the net, but there's no reason why he can't have a good stick on deflections. There's no reason why he can't be a distributor in that spot. Maybe a little more unorthodox, but I like your main point there is like the kid's feeling it right now. Get him out there with guys that can put the puck in the net, and I think they'll figure it out. So the main thing is the movement is still there. You've still got 3 real dangerous shooters in terms of the forwards with him, and then Morrissey up at the top. I think with how Perfetti's seeing the ice, how he's feeling it right now, that it might not look identical to what we're used to, but as long as movement is there in and around him, that if the puck gets down low to him, maybe behind the net, behind the goal line, he's going to find somebody in a dangerous situation, and that's all you can ask for out of the power play.
Hey, surprised Comrie's getting the start tonight. I kind of had him penciled in for the weekend against Utah, but it looks like from the morning skate that, and again, I assume that everything went well. He's had the baby, and he's here with the team. I think that's the logical
deduction
from all this. Maybe the new dad brings some baby swag into the game tonight and
baby
stands on his
bump.
head. Let's
Baby
go.
bump, man. Yeah, that maybe that's all it is. That's it, right? And I mean, at some point too, like you do, I think I don't mind giving the backup a game against a legitimate playoff team. I know the kind of common sense is throw him in there against a team outside of the picture, and he can try to steal one for you there. But this has got to be all vibes based, Huss. And I'll tell you what, he's going to be focused. He get good night's sleep. There's not going to be too many of those coming up for him here, so might as well get him into the net while he's probably still getting 8 hours.
Play him on the road. Play him on the road when he's been in a hotel, as opposed to anywhere near Winnipeg with what he's dealing for.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go, did you see the melee at the end of the Canes Caps game last night, and the UFC move that Chatfield put on Connor McMichael? I think I called him Connor McLennan earlier. Connor McMichael.
McDavid.
What's your take on that? And I said it before when we asked our question of the day. Like, player safety is doing nothing for this. Should they have?
I'm kind of torn because here's the thing: when you allow fighting as something legal in your game, I know there's certain things and moves that can't happen, but like you technically allow takedowns in fights, and that's what happened. Was it violent and unnecessary? Absolutely. But that's just kind of the Pandora's box you allow to be opened if you're going to have guys punch each other in the face. So I thought it was dangerous. I didn't like it. If I was running the league, a suspension would totally be on the table, but there's nothing that says in the rule book that when you fight, you can't just, toss somebody down onto their back hard. And look, the NHL has to their credit, even though it's not, but like they made the precedent too when Tom Wilson and Panarin had their dust up a few years back, right? And that was way more violent than this, arguably, and they didn't suspend him on that. I didn't like the move, but again, if you allow fighting, things like this are going to happen. So the main thing is thankfully McMichael's okay. Like that's the most important thing there. But I wouldn't mind
if his head was 3 inches lower and that move comes all the way down in his head and his skull is crushed, which was completely on the table on that play, and he's in the hospital for 2 months, then what? Because like Connor made the great point earlier on, they literally suspend for the result, not necessarily the action. And if that is fair game going into the playoffs, get ready for what we see. Like, can we eye gouge a guy in a fight? Can you kick him in the nuts? If you're really doing well with a guy, could you turn him over and deliver a tombstone pile driver? I get it. It's fighting. By definition, you're punching a guy in the face, and that's attempting to hurt a guy. But Pat Rathwell said officials can come together, and if there's something way over the line in fights, they can give a match penalty. They can do that. And I thought this was a huge missed opportunity by player safety. And if something like this happens again with a worse result that could have easily happened last night, look no further than this and the lack of action that basically gave a green light for anything goes when guys drop the gloves.
And I don't disagree with that. Personally, it would probably behoove the NHL to come out and be like, listen, moving forward, especially when the helmet comes off too, right? Like that's when these things become really dangerous. And I don't know what the wording would be in that situation, right? But like you need to avoid some kind of UFC/wrestling style takedowns in fights. And maybe you leave it up to the discretion of the refs, which is always kind of a scary scary thing to do with how we see games called at some point. But I do think this is something the NHL needs to step in on. But I also understand from their perspective, in a sense, too, like you do see guys kind of get thrown around during fights and things like that, and they're willing combatants, and sometimes bad things happen. But this is where I think as a league, you need to step in and protect the players from themselves a little bit here. Like you said, to avoid, that's fair game. Well, then we'll keep that in mind the next time the Capitals and Hurricanes hit the ice, and then you get into really, really, potentially ugly situations.
Which is, by the way, next Thursday. Same night as
nice.
the Jets are playing Dallas. Rematch between these teams.
Oh, jeez.
Count on Mr. Chatfield getting a visit from Tom Wilson, and then probably having Dylan McElrath waiting for him when he comes out of the box. And by the way, Wilson going after Stankoven, like that is a guy that does not give an F, if you know what I'm saying. He, you'd love to have him on your team, though. I'll tell you that much. Brandon,
that's why Nick
always
dropped the gloves.
It was wild. I was watching the game last night. We were watching Florida, Toronto, and we had Minnesota Rangers up, and we kind of had, we'll just see if Ovi scores. We spent the entire time watching that game because it got so out of hand, and it wasn't a particularly good game. Carolina was running away with it. So anyways, we'll see what happens tonight. You have a great one, my man. Thanks so much. And folks, download Skates and Plates wherever you get your favorite pods. We'll talk to you soon, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.
Right on. There's Brandon Rewucki. Couple things in chat. Matt Hyman, did Huss actually say the baby arrived? I thought he said it was unconfirmed. Did Comrie and Haley have the baby? Well, listen, nothing's been confirmed. There's been no announcement. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. If you don't leave with the team on a road trip because you're about to have a baby and you bring Chris Dreger, and then all of a sudden that guy that was waiting to have the baby is in Las Vegas and apparently starting, I will assume that the baby has been born. I highly doubt he decided just to say, you know what? Good luck on this one. I'm going to go play this game on the weekend. So I guess at some point we'll hear about that. But I would assume there are congratulations in order for the Comrie family. And Eric can hopefully have a big game as a new dad tonight. All right, we're going to bring in Mike Zeisberger coming up in just a minute. Hey, folks, check out the Royal Sports Instagram page, or better yet, just walk in yourself at 750 Pembina Highway, because they are ready for the playoffs, and all the whites are out on the floor right now. White hoodies, white T-shirts with your favorite players on them. Obviously, all the white jerseys, sweatsuits, painter smocks, chains, white logos. If you're getting your playoff gear ready for the games, the street parties, everything else that comes along with Winnipeg Jets playoffs, Royal Sports is the place to do it. But do it now, because the section has been busy and people are going in there and picking it apart by the day. While you're there, you can check out all the new Blue Jays gear, the bikes coming in for spring, all the other summer sport stock coming in, and of course, the amazing Yeti section with all those Yeti coolers, mugs, cups, and more. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, Boston Pizza will be the place to be tonight. To late start, but that's perfect because Happy Hour kicks in at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. start tonight. Pick a player contest at your favorite local BP. Ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and more. And hopefully a jet win for everyone that shows up at their local Boston Pizza tonight. If you're staying at home, get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to welcome in our pal Mike Zeisberger from NHL.com. Great to have Zeiss back on the program. But before we do that, as always, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Mike Zeisberger from NHL.com. It has been too long. Zeiss, welcome back to Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you, my friend? How you feeling?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for asking. And, in the last few years, Hustler, we've both been through our health issues, and, takes a hell of a lot more than that to keep us down. So it's great to be on.
Yeah, they can't get rid of us, Zeiss. They can't get rid of us. And,
much as they try, Hustler, as much as they try.
What an exciting time of the regular season. I mean, I think we all agree the season is probably a little too long. I don't know of many people that wouldn't like it to maybe be in and around 70 games, but there's still a little bit more work to be done. And, obviously you covering the East and the Toronto Maple Leafs, they had a huge game last night in their battle for first. And we've got a beauty tonight in Vegas between Winnipeg and the Golden Knights, the top two teams in the respective divisions out in the West. What do you make just of the playoff races right now, both for wild cards? Well, the wild card seems to be over in the West, but the uncertainty in the Central and certainly the Atlantic for how these series are going to shape up and how important it is for teams to get first because of what's happening in that 2-3 series.
Well, definitely. And let's go, closer to your home and discuss Winnipeg for a second. It's interesting. They play, obviously, as you mentioned, they play in Vegas tonight. One of the things that fascinates me, Hustler, and I'm not sure if you get the same vibe too, is that we've heard so much, and especially out east here, about, how great the Jets have been doing, and obviously with good reason. But you hear so much about Colorado and you hear so much about Dallas. What you haven't heard as much as you have in previous years, to me at least, is about the Vegas Golden Knights. And that kind of surprises me a little bit. It's almost like, they're kind of, and it's been a long time we can say this, but they're kind of in the weeds. Now, that's hard to say considering they probably are going to win the Pacific Division, but people seem to forget when, they were relatively inactive at the trade deadline. They brought Riley Smith back, which I thought was kind of a shrewd move because if he's going to succeed, and he's struggled the last couple of years, that is a market where, he's familiar. He won a cup there. That's probably where if he's going to have any success, he will there. But people forget, it was last year's deadline where they got Thomas Hertl, where they got Noah Hannafin. These guys are signed, okay? They weren't rent-a-players. So this is their first full year in Vegas. And so I wanted to start with that. I just don't hear a lot of people talking about Vegas, and I think you got to be wary of that team because they play heavy, they play hard, and they play four lines, things that are successful in the National Hockey League. But yeah, you're exactly right about seeding. So let's look in the Jets case. I mean, I would think, and this is no disrespect to the Minnesota Wild, but that's the team you would want to play in the first round. St. Louis, nobody wants to touch them, and it seems that whoever wins the Pacific Division probably will play St. Louis, who seem to be getting better and better entrenched for that first wild card. So you want to play Minnesota. I'll come out and say that. And with Dallas nipping at Winnipeg's heels, it's imperative for the Jets. You don't want to play Colorado again. We saw that last year. Not saying that's the way that it works out this time around and the same result, but I wouldn't want to have anything to do with McKinnon and Makar by any means. And then you look in the East, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, all fighting for first in the Atlantic. Again, no disrespect to the Ottawa Senators, who the division winner in the Atlantic looks like they'll play in the first round. But the three teams I mentioned, Hustler, do you want to play two of those teams playing off against each other? It's either going to be Toronto, Florida, Toronto, Tampa, or Tampa, Florida. And if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, who had a big win last night, 3-2, over the Florida Panthers, okay? You would rather see Tampa and Florida beat the you-know-what out of each other in the first round. So there's a lot of incentive both in all these divisions to finish on top of your division, because those 2-3 matchups are going to be really difficult. And then, I mean, Hustler, you look at the wild card in the East. Where do I start? I'll just leave it at, Montreal, Columbus, Detroit, the Rangers. I think the Islanders probably still have a sniff, but it's nuts. And yeah, maybe the season is a little too long, but I don't think anybody can say these last 2 weeks are going to be boring.
No, listen, there is so much on the table right now. And I mean, a few places to pick up. I mean, as far as, just here in the Central Division, I mean, the Jets are the number one team in the National Hockey League right now.
Yep.
I mean, if the season ended right now, they'd win the President's Trophy. And depending on what happens in these final 8 games, could be going up against a team that will likely finish in the top 5 in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, the Dallas Stars right now are 3rd overall and right behind the Washington Capitals. And we've seen that it does in a lot of ways sort of feel like the 17-18 season where the Jets went to the conference finals. Winnipeg finished 2nd overall in the NHL and did not win their division, was playing on the road in the 2nd round because the Nashville Predators were the number 1 team. So it is somewhat the uniqueness of the playoff format, which some people like Gary Bettman, and others feel we should go back to 1-8 to have maybe a little bit more of reward the teams for being the best than not paying the price because they're in the division.
I would say to that real quick, though, if you look at what 1-8 would be, a couple of those big time matchups would still be the same in a 1-8. So I understand what they're trying to do is get divisional rivalries. And, sometimes the teams don't live up to that. Like I look in the Atlantic Division, in terms of the Leafs, Toronto, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Toronto, Detroit, Toronto, Buffalo. Regionally, these would make for great playoff series. But Montreal, Buffalo, Detroit, and to some extent Ottawa, they really haven't been good enough to be in that mix. What you've gotten is the 2 Florida teams, Boston and Toronto, almost every year. So I think there's compelling arguments for both sides. But again, I think that with Winnipeg looking at the prospect of playing Minnesota, I think that should be incentive enough. Not that they don't have incentive as it is, but you got a chance to get that first round and avoid Dallas or Colorado.
Well, and to your point, Zeiss, I mean, the benefit of playing one of the wild card teams and hopefully advancing, nothing's guaranteed. But like you mentioned in the Atlantic, I mean, having Dallas and Colorado have to go toe-to-toe and beat the hell out of each other for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd much rather play one of those teams and not have to deal with the other and do it after they've gone through a round as opposed to starting off. So the stakes really are high. And in all likelihood, this is going to come down right to the final week of the season because Dallas has an absolute cupcake schedule. In their final 11 games of the year, they only had 2 playoff teams. One's Minnesota, one's the home game against Winnipeg, and they haven't slipped up right now. And that's why we're getting into such tight quarters right now. I mean, speaking of the Atlantic for a minute, huge game last night and a massive win for the Leafs. And listen, they got Florida in a good spot. They were playing on back-to-back nights. It was their 3rd game in 4 nights, but nobody cares. You got to go out and handle business. And this was a very, very tight game. But, we could be seeing Leafs Ottawa in the first round. And I mean, for hockey fans with no skin in the game, give me the Battle of Ontario and give me Florida and Tampa going at it in round one. And last night went a long, long way to potentially making that happen in a couple weeks.
Well, it did. And, you make a great point. I mean, Florida did not have no Tkachuk, no Barkov, no Kulikov, no Aaron Ekblad. So, yeah, they were limping. But you know what? They don't put asterisks beside the 2 points that you get for winning games like that. And the other thing, Hustler, is too often than not, the Leafs haven't won those games when they have a chance. Right now, entering the game last night, 3 of Toronto's final 7 or 8 games, I believe it's 8 games, they have 2 against Florida, 1 against Tampa. So you go in there and it's like, you know what? We pretty much have our fate in our own hands. So we have to hold serve. They did last night. Next week, they play back-to-back in Florida and Tampa. And, they get swept in those. All of a sudden, what they did last night kind of becomes, moot. So, but this is something that they can build on. And the most important thing to me is the way that they're doing it. They're playing north-south. Last night was kind of an ugly game, and that's what Craig Berube wants. He won a cup in St. Louis, Hustler, as you well know, by playing that type of style. He's getting his, the big thing when he came in is, can you get the Nylanders, can you get the Matthews, can you get the Marners to buy in? And if you watched at the end of the game last night, when Florida was putting on the pressure right near the end of the game, Mitch Marner's jumping in the air to bat pucks down. He's diving onto the ice to chop pucks out. That, to me, and more importantly, that to Craig Berube, shows how much the buy-in there is.
Hey, speaking of the Leafs and Marner, if you could just reach over and grab that crystal ball that you have on your desk, Mike. Is Mitch Marner a Leaf next year?
Yeah, I mean, if I could tell you that, I would know. I could give you the square root of pi. I could tell you how they get the caramel inside the caramel bar. All those things that kind of have confounded us over the years. I have no idea. But here's the thing. There's a school of thought out there that says he shouldn't get any more than Austin Matthews gets. And I disagree with that. I think the cap is going up. I think that Mitch Marner showed, and you were at the Four Nations as well, that he's finally stepped up, had his moments. He scored the winning goal against Sweden. He had the assist on Connor McDavid's tournament winning goal. I think that it is so difficult in a 32-team league to get elite talent that, look at, if you bring John Tavares back, who is defying father time. I mean, 36 goals at age 34. He wants to be back in Toronto, but look at, he makes 11 this year. You can probably get him for 6. So there's what, $5 million that's off the books. Plus you have the cap going up. You know what? I think you look and say, hey, if Mitch Marner gets 14, he gets 14. Hustler, the cap's going to be $114 million in 2 years. And if you've got a quality players, you got to keep them. The Leafs are lucky that they have Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, that you can make decisions like that. But if you let that guy go, how are you going to replace him? And I'll tell you what, if he goes on the free agent market, I mean, where does the lineup start? Because there is going to be no shortage of suitors that want an elite player like that on their team. And what people don't really give him credit for is that he plays the power play, he kills penalties, and he's a top 10 scorer. And, I think it was last year, he was actually a finalist for the Selke. So you've got a guy who's flirting with 100 points and was a finalist last year as the best defensive forward. So what's not to like, and why would you not try to keep him?
Well, listen, I agree. I mean, everyone would want Mitch Marner on their team. It is a little different in Toronto. He's a hometown guy. We all remember how he and his agent and others that were involved bent the Leafs over in that last contract negotiation. And then the fact of the matter is they haven't had team success since then. Let me give you a scenario, Zeiss. The Leafs win the division and then lose to the Ottawa Senators in the first round. They haven't beat that team this year. Ottawa's had a lot of success.
No.
They bow out in the first round again. How would that change things? Or do you think it would for MLSE? It certainly would become less palatable, I think, for the fan base who would once again be bringing the pitchforks out in late April.
I would be fascinated by that, but you have to remember one thing, and you know this better than I do, but when you listen to the fans, you'll become a fan. You'll be sitting with the fans pretty quick. And my only thing, and I throw this back to you, is if Mitch Marner leaves, how do you replace somebody like that? Not a big game, not a big time for free agency. You do have those guys that are, fans that look at in a fan, they live in this fantasy world that say, wow, you know what? In a year, Connor McDavid will be eligible to become a free agent. And of course he would want to come home. Who wouldn't want to play in Southern Ontario for a Southern Ontario kid? Are you willing to take that gamble? I certainly am not. And here's the other thing. Like I talked about the salary cap, one thing Brad Treliving has done by bringing in, he re-signed Jake McCabe, bringing in a couple different guys. Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins has been a great fit. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Tanev, all those guys. They have 6 guys on defense under contract beyond this year. So you're still, even if you sign Mitch Marner, you're still going to have a little bit of money in the next year or two to play with to augment your team. So my whole thing is, and I understand, look at, if they lose to Ottawa, it would be fascinating. It would be a mini series. Okay. It would be forget about soap operas. This would be much watched TV, because it would be just, if they were to keep them, you'd get that segment of the population that you're talking about going like, what are you doing? But if you don't keep them or can't keep them, because it would be his decision, how do you replace somebody like that I just told you who the credentials are, and how is your team better without him? Sure, you know what? I mean, you could do, remember when Calgary, Matthew Tkachuk won it out of Calgary. So, Treliving did what he got a 110-point guy or 112-point guy back in Jonathan Huberdeau.
Yeah, but that was, he had a year left on his deal. Tkachuk had a year left on his deal.
Yeah, and then and Jonathan Huberdeau, who then had the biggest point reduction in NHL history. So, it's tough to say, because I understand you want to change the chemistry, but are you a better team if you do? And I don't have the answer for that, but like I said, it'll be much watched TV.
Well, listen, I am definitely pulling for a Battle of Ontario. I think that would be amazing, and I'm definitely here for Panthers Lightning in the first round as well. Hey, before we go, Zeiss, I know you are a proud longtime member of the PWHA. You'll be voting on the Hart Trophy.
Well, I'm not allowed anymore.
Oh, really? You're out?
Yeah, because I work for NHL.com.
Oh, for the NHL. Now. Well, perfect. Then you are a perfect person to help spread this word. Here's the simple question. Yes. Connor Hellebuyck leading the league in wins, in shutouts, in goals against average, in save percentage. It's happened twice before in NHL history. Bernie Parent and Jacques Plante.
This is Jeopardy. I just told you my answer.
If Hellebuyck does that, if not this year for a goaltender winning the Hart with this sort of credentials, Why don't we just say that goalies can't win it?
Well, and see, that's I agree with you on that point, that there should be some, because I know that there are some in the fraternity that say the goalies get the Vezina, so why should they get Hart votes? But if we're going by that criteria, Hustler, then how can Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes get votes, because defensemen get the Norris?
Exactly.
Right? Nobody on any other positions is eligible for that. So, you know what? I mean, Hellebuyck would be my choice. I understand if people use that argument that I brought up, that they get the Vezina, but if that's the case, then clarify it, okay? Because what you get then is too many people debating over what the criteria is. But in my case, when I look at what's going on in the NHL, and this is no shot at Kucherov or Draisaitl or obviously Nathan McKinnon, but Connor Hellebuyck would be my MVP.
Once again, your friends and the people of Winnipeg respect your brilliance, your guidance, Zeiss. Hey, pal, this has been so much fun. Let's get together in a couple weeks in and around the playoffs if you got some time. Love having you on, and it's gonna get real good once we get down to 16.
Always have time to come on. I would love to come on when the playoffs come, and who knows, man? I cover 4 rounds of playoffs, whether the Leafs are there or not. So maybe we'll have a chance to do this in person.
All Canadian final, Jets Leafs. Let's do it, Zeiss. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I mean, gotta feed those mouths at Rogers after that TV deal.
No kidding. Well, it's good for all you guys on the NHL payroll.
You did.
The checks are going to keep clearing. Mike Zeisberger has been with us. Check out his work at NHL.com. Zeiss, thanks so much for doing this. Have a great day. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, my friend, and you stay healthy.
All right, there's our pal Mike Zeisberger. Love the Zeiss. Great to see him doing so well. And tell you what, we will definitely be getting the Zeiss man on before we get to the playoffs. All right, listen, Connor's going to rejoin me in a minute. We're going to hear from Scott Arneil. Let me do a quick Breezy Bend golf report. It was fun having Pat Mayo on with us, the PME, and talk about the Valero and obviously getting ready for Masters Week. Don't forget, if you are, and we'll talk about this more when we do the cool bet lines, but if you are betting golf for this weekend or for the Masters, go into the promo codes. You go over to Pat's page at the PME, click on that link, and just opt in. And for every $10 bet you get, you'll have an opportunity to win a trip to the Canadian Open, see a couple days of the golf, the Blue Jays, the live PME show. Absolute no-brainer. But Pat mentioned the long shot of long shots, Stephen Fisk, 250-1. Well, guess what? Stephen Fisk is tied for third right now at 4 under par. Now, Brian Harmon's at 6 under. Keith Mitchell is 8 under right now. I see Tony Finau finished at 3 under. Looking at the Canadians in the bank, Ben Silverman's -2. Our guy Svenny finished -1 at 71. And a lot of the guys that we had talked about, Ludwig Goldberg, Keegan Bradley, amongst others, going out this afternoon. So we'll stay on top of the Valero. Huge week next week. It is the Masters, and that means we're going to be swinging it in Breezy Bend very, very soon, probably within about 3 weeks. Folks, if you're interested in finding out more about making Breezy Bend the long-term golfing home for you and your family, give our pal Corey Johnson a call over and discuss getting on the waiting list for the 2025 season and beyond at beautiful Breezy Bend. And we're looking forward to being out at Breezy as they host this year's Manitoba Open later on this summer. All right, let's get Connor Hrabchak in here for just a minute. Connor and I, we're going to hear from Scott Arneil, but it does sound like our takes from Ken's tweets were accurate, and Jared Anderson Dolan getting into the lineup tonight. Eric Comrie getting in as well.
Yeah, and Cole Perfetti up to the top power play unit. So a few changes for the Jets. Interested to see how Anderson Dolan plays in a limited role. And then obviously Eric Comrie getting the start as well. He played against Vegas in that game that they lost earlier in the season in Vegas. I remember Brett Howden scored with like 2-3 minutes left, and the Jets narrowly lost that one 4-3. So interested to see how Comrie plays, and obviously Anderson Dolan up front. And also another thing that Scott Arneil mentioned, that he wouldn't rule out Luke Shen for tonight's game. He's officially a game time decision. So maybe we see Luke Shen as well.
Well, that's what we're hoping for, because I'm hoping to not see that same third pairing from last game, considering everything that transpired at Crypto.com Arena. But listen, we'll continue this conversation after we hear from the coach. Here's Scott Arneil's availability before tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Here's the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets.
Jared Anderson Dolan getting into a game. Just curious what goes into that decision, and it'll be his first NHL game. I know he's played at the American League this year, but first NHL game since last April.
Yeah, no, like we've had a chance this season through injuries and different situations to bring guys up to see how they play with our group, to get them in the lineup, get them in games. We haven't seen him all season, and we called some other guys up, but he's had a good year there, and he's another depth guy that I want to see play some games here in case we happen to need him in the playoffs. So good opportunity here, and we'll move off that.
So you having a quick chat with Luke Shen, just needs another day or two, or what's kind of that?
We won't talk about the roster.
Okay.
We're whatever. We'll see. He's out there in a white jersey. We'll see where we go from that.
Going back to Jared a little bit, he had such a strong camp then before he got hurt. I mean, what are you hoping to see from him? I know he had a bit of a tough start, but from all reports, he's had a really good second half with the Moose.
Yeah, he broke his foot, obviously, and it took a long time to get better. And but yeah, talking to Mo down there, that he's been one of their best forwards, especially for the second half of the year, and playing to his identity, which is what you want those guys to do. And brought him in because he's an energy guy, can get in on forechecks, help us in the penalty kill if there's some room there. But kind of just want to really kind of get a look at him. We saw him a little bit in exhibition and then in the camp itself. So now it's sort of, this is a time of year that, obviously he might be able to help us.
What kind of challenges has Vegas presented to your group this year specifically?
Yeah, well, they've been tight games. I mean, we had the 2-1 lead going into that penalty kill at the end of the game. The last game in there, our first half, they were pretty dominant, and we took over the second half of that game. The one in here, we made some errors on some rush coverage, and another game that we were up in, probably should have won it. Played really well in here. So they've had some key injuries as well. I think it's just hurdle. I think Paterson will probably be back, but at the end of the day, they're a veteran team that knows how to play this time of year. They've been kind of ramping their game up quietly. I think that they haven't gotten a whole lot of press about it, but we know how good the hockey team they are and type of elite players that they have.
I know your focus is on your own group, but what are some of the benefits to being in a race down to the wire? I mean, yes, in some ways you'd like to be home and cooled, but in other ways to be pushed the way that you are, what are the benefits to that?
Well, you guys, we've talked about this, I think, every month, that Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado, St. Louis, nobody's ever left our rearview mirror. They've always been tight. They've always been there, and whether that gap got wide at one time, it's always tightened back up, and too good of hockey team. Those teams are all real good hockey teams, and we just have to take care of our business. We've always talked about that from the start of the year on, that take care of our business, let everything kind of fall into place. Focus in on this game here. We did our review on the LA game. Now it's focused on Vegas, which is a really good hockey club, and we'll have to be at our best to do it.
Looks like a tweak is coming on the power play. I mean, Cole has had first unit time. What are you hoping to see with the change?
Yeah, not having all the four lefties and just the one righty with Scheif. We're kind of trying to just expose a little bit of some things that Vegas does on their kill. Fetz has experience of being over there on that flank too as well. So, we're just kind of a little bit of a different look. Kind of gives us a little bit to do with the right-hander being down low and also be able to pop up kind of like Gabe does. That's the best part. Is Scheif's open to it, and he wants to, he realizes that, we need to get that up and running. Maybe this is a new look that helps us.
A new look. I mean, new look is same as the old look. I mean, you're going back to the original lines. It looked like. What went into that decision?
Like I said before, when we did it last week, there had a little bit of what the matchups were, who the team we were facing, some of the guys that, whether it was Lau, who I wanted him against, or Fly, who I wanted him against, or even Vladdy's line. So that line for me, putting Vladdy line back together has been really good for us all year long, and they kind of go sneaky under the wire, and I'm hoping that again tonight. They were really good in this building. When we played in here, I know Fly didn't play the game at home, but they scored another goal there. And just like the way Fetz is up and running now, and, Fly's been playing well and Flatty, so that just, I think that'll help. And then, obviously get that big line, with Lau, those big, heavy guys that, they know how to play in this rink.
All right, so there is Scott Arneil. So Jared Anderson Dolan in, very non-committal on the lineup. Won't talk about the lineup, but listen, I don't think we need to inject Scott Arneil with a bunch of truth serum to say that he'd love to have big Luke Schenn out to take on the Vegas Golden Knights tonight. But if not, they'll be down two of their top three right-handed defensemen, and it'll be incumbent on the guys that are in the lineup to hold it down and maybe do it a little more cleanly than they did against the Kings a couple nights ago, Connor.
For sure. And yeah, like you said, Scott Arneil not mentioning the lineup there. Ken did note that Schenn didn't stay out for extra work after the morning skate, which is usually a sign, like if a player's a scratch, they'll stay out and skate for an extra 30 minutes because they're not playing in the game that night. So I think we are headed towards a true game time decision here. So stay glued to, TSN. Not sure if they're doing the 30-minute pregame tonight, but obviously Ken's on the road there. Mitch Clinton's on the road. They'll have you updated on whether or not Luke Schenn is in the lineup. And yeah, need a much cleaner game from that third pairing if Luke Schenn is not in the lineup, because Vegas is another team where if you turn the puck over in the neutral zone, you hand them a few mistakes, you hand them a few odd man rushes, they're going to make you pay, especially in that building. It's going to get loud. It's going to get crazy. So look for a cleaner game from that third pair if Luke Schenn is unable to go. But if he's able to go, he'll obviously be in the lineup.
Well, listen, it affects everything. And I mean, listen, I know Stanley is the lightning rod. And listen, it was as Rewucki referred to it, it was a debacle, that play that ended up in the back of the net. But the loss of Schenn affects the second pairing too. I've got a lot of time for Colin Miller being in the lineup. I thought he handled himself quite well on the right side, in the third pairing. When you move him up to the second pairing, I mean, listen, the first miscue that happened that ended up in the back of the net started off on Miller's stick. He made not a particularly good pass to Marc Scheifele, who then just tried to get it out. It was intercepted and it ended up in the back of the net. So it was more than just Stan that did not have some great puck management. And listen, Connor, we've talked about this, over and over again, less so this year because the team has been consistently so good and not making many of those mistakes. But when you're going up against those tough teams, and I'm sure teams that are playing the Winnipeg Jets say the exact thing, when you don't manage the puck well, when you turn it over, when you give elite world-class talent the opportunity to take advantage of odd man rushes and whatnot, you get burned. And, the Jets, to their credit, have been pretty good at that all year. But, at some point that creeps in. And listen, it was it had a disastrous outcome against the Kings. And I have Vegas very much in a similar category as the Kings, maybe even better offensively. But they do all those things to turn the puck over and make you pay. And who's ever in there, I mean, there's going to be some heavy lifting on the guys, certainly replacing Pionk and potentially Luke Schenn.
Yeah, and it stings, right? Because these two games, we talk about LA and Vegas and their styles of play and how physical they are. These are the perfect type of games for Luke Schenn to be in the lineup, and he's not there because of this day-to-day injury. So that really does suck, because these are the exact type of games that the Jets went out and acquired Luke Schenn for, is these physical games on the road where you have to play solid defensively, box out players in front of your net so that Eric Comrie can see the shots coming towards him. These are the type of things that Luke Schenn would be bringing to the Jets lineup. So hopefully he's able to go tonight. And I don't know about you, Huss, but I'm really excited to see Cole Perfetti on that top power play unit. There's been plenty of talk here on this program about Cole Perfetti's evolution over these past couple of weeks. He's playing the best hockey of his career, and he's absolutely earned this promotion up to the top unit over a guy like Alex Iafallo. Not that Iafallo played his way off the unit, but I'd say Perfetti played his way onto it, because these past couple of weeks have been the best hockey of his career. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Hopefully the Jets can get a few power play opportunities tonight, and we could see maybe a bit of an extended sample of it. But Cole Perfetti on the top unit, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, he's certainly earned the opportunity. And the one thing is that without Velarde and now moving Perfetti up to that group, I mean, they're really putting all their eggs in one basket, with no disrespect meant to the guys that are on that second power play unit. And listen, I know in the past they'd like to get those guys off around 110, 120, and at least leave some time for that second unit. I'm not sure they don't go full Oilers mode right now and leave those guys out for basically 2 minutes and then have Adam Lowry ready to jump the boards with his guys to take care of business and let those guys give them a rest. Certainly the power play needs to be better. It's been a strength of the team all season long. Hasn't been as much over the course of the past month or so. And don't look now, but they're number 2 in the league. And guess who's got the number 1 power play unit? It's the Vegas Golden Knights. Another reason why they would love to have Luke Schenn in the lineup tonight. But as Connor just mentioned, we won't know that until we get to just after 9 p.m. and get the puck drop tonight. Hey, listen, let's hear from Jared Anderson Dolan. He got called up, and I think we all thought, oh, this is just sort of a depth call up, in case someone gets hurt. Well, as we mentioned, I don't know. Arnie certainly didn't say he didn't like the play from Gus, and that's why he's not in the lineup tonight. But I don't think it's particularly a coincidence that they're going to give Anderson Dolan a shot. But here's Jared Anderson Dolan before getting into the lineup tonight with Vegas against Vegas.
Well, Jared, first question is, when did you find out that you'd be slotting in tonight, and just your reaction to being able to jump in here against a team like Vegas?
Yeah, I just found out this morning, came to rink, and obviously very excited. Great opportunity for myself and for the team to kind of bounce back after a tough game, and obviously a very good team against Vegas, and need to have a good showing.
What kinds of things do you focus on? I mean, I believe your first NHL game since last April. So what are you kind of focusing on when you get out there those first few shifts?
I think just be simple early. Try to be physical, get the feet moving, and try not to be too tense. Just try to enjoy it. I think as you get more of these opportunities, you realize how hard they are to come by, and it's not all smooth sailing. So you just try to appreciate it. So that'll be the focus for sure.
In terms of your season, obviously the injury in training camp, you spend the majority of the season in the American League. Just how would you describe how the season's gone and how you've been able to rebound from the injury in camp?
Yeah, it's been a little bit tough, not to the standard I want. With the injury, I think anytime that happens early in the season, you're kind of behind the 8 ball, and then the team down there as a whole has been struggling. But you kind of, when you get an opportunity like this, you kind of put that in the rear view and just try to focus on what you can control right now, and it feels like a fresh start.
Team's taken so much pride this year in being able to park, whether it's a big win or a big loss. You kind of leave it behind you and you go into the next one. Just curious, the vibe that you've been able to get from being up with the team, is that kind of something that you sense as well? This is a team that's kind of left that Los Angeles game in Los Angeles and kind of full focus tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's made this team so good all year, whether it's the highs of the win streaks they've been on, or losing a tough game like last game. They just seems like they just reset. The leadership group is great, and it seems like just a very very poised group. And you can definitely feel that as soon as you get here, and we'll definitely be ready to go tonight.
All right, so there is JAD, Jared Anderson Dolan, making his Jet debut tonight, and he sounded like he was all business, very focused, much like it sounds like the team is right now. And hey, listen, huge opportunity for a guy who's played NHL games before, injured at the start of the year, hadn't had the opportunity, and now at the most important time of the year, Connor, he's getting the tap on the shoulder from the coaching staff to get in there, and wouldn't that be something to make a positive impact in his first game as a Jet right now? And a team really needs it, depleted with losing a few guys that are on the IR.
For sure. And these players don't take these opportunities for granted. It's not his NHL debut. We saw that with Parker Ford, where he came in for a few games on the fourth line and even got the goal. But as a guy who's playing in the AHL, getting up to the NHL for one game even, he's going to be going all out tonight. And I mean, it's Vegas. We know that barn is always loud. It's always crazy atmosphere in there. And the Jets, if they'll have to be a focus group to kind of manage those emotions. So Jared Anderson Dolan on the fourth line tonight, looking to bring a lot of energy. I asked Scott Arneil actually a few games ago what he expects energy wise from that fourth line. And he said, that's the number one thing, no matter who's on it. That's what he wants that line to bring. So Anderson Dolan, Morgan Barron down the middle, and Brandon Tanev. Tanev's going to bring the energy, but the other two as well. That's what they'll look for from their fourth line, who will have to play some big shifts because on the road, we know you don't control the matchups. Maybe they'll get Eichel line out there once or twice against the fourth line. They'll have to manage their minutes well.
All right, so JAD in, Eric Comrie to start, and Luke Schenn, a game time decision for the Winnipeg Jets. And I guess we can start the scoreboard watching early. People have a nap after WST or after work, get something to eat, then get ready for this 9:00 puck drop tonight. But before then, the game that we'll be paying attention to, 7:00, the Nashville Predators and the Dallas Stars. Just before we get to the cool bet lines, Connor, the old thing, first game back after a road trip, time zones. They've been on the West Coast. I mean,
I don't know, man.
any hope that the Nashville Predators can go in and maybe do us a solid tonight?
I don't think so. Like I was trying to, hype myself up, say there's no way the Kraken lose twice. It's so tough to beat a team back to back. Dallas beat them twice. Like, I don't know, 6 straight wins. They're at home. It's Nashville. Like, I think you can throw 2 points up on the board, and the Jets will have to take care of their own business tonight.
The game that I'm still pissed about is the Calgary game from about a week ago.
Yeah.
And the Flames had, 102 shot attempts, 48 on, and Ottinger wasn't even playing. It was their backup. Yeah. So I'll tell you what, I would love to see a Casey DeSmith versus Calgary-esque performance tonight from Connor Hellebuck's backup, Eric Comrie. And as Brandon mentioned, he's got the baby bump, we assume. The fact that he's back with the club and able to play tonight would indicate as such. So maybe Eric Comrie can get the Jets a huge win, one that, as you mentioned, it's been a while since they've beaten the Vegas Golden Knights. And, this end of the season road trip in the final 10 games was an opportunity for the Jets to do something that I think is quite rare in the NHL, beat every team in the National Hockey League in the regular season. Now, that's not going to happen because they weren't able to beat the Kings. But the 3 teams that the Jets had not beaten this year, one was LA, one was Vegas, and the other's the Anaheim Ducks, and the Ducks will be in Winnipeg on that final game of the regular season. But as we said before, Jets more than due against Vegas, so see what they can do tonight, down a few key players. Hopefully not Luke Shen, but we won't know until game time. Well, speaking of that Nashville-Dallas game, let's get over to Cool Bet right now and get into the Cool Bet lines. Couple things, though, just before we kind of get into the hockey games. People have been asking, when is the next poker tourney? Good news, everybody. This Sunday, the next edition of the Lock Shop Poker Series will go like we did it last time on Sunday. We'll do it an hour earlier. So it will be 7:00 start here in Winnipeg, 8:00 start for the ESTers out in Edmonton. And we'll have a bounty on my head. I think Remus is going to be traveling back from Kelowna. Maybe we'll see if Connor wants to jump in and on it as well. But you know where to go. Go to Cool Bet. I'm not sure where it's entirely set up yet. But if you go, what you're going to need to do is click on poker, download the poker app. And then once you get in, go to tournaments. There's a little magnifying glass just to make it easy. Just search Lock Shop Poker Series will come up. Get in and come at me. $100 bounty will be on my head. I've got a bounty on Randy D's head after he took me out in the finals 2 tourneys ago, one of our top players. But if you haven't played before, we've had so much fun with these tourneys. Next one is Sunday. Join us, put it in your calendar, and get that poker app going, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Let's get to the games tonight. Boston is in Montreal. Boston apparently has won the last 9 of 10 against Montreal. Well, this would be a good time for the Habs to mix in a win against their rivals. The Bruins are on to next season. Montreal needs this one bad, though, right now. They're 2 up on Columbus. The Rangers got that win last night. So the Habs at -200, a big favorite. Tampa's in Ottawa to take on the Sens. No Brady Tkachuk for Ottawa. Tampa's a -141 favorite. Ottawa's +120. The Blue Jackets, who I just mentioned, desperate for a win. They've got the Avalanche tonight. The Avalanche had to come back down 2 in the third to get one over on the Blue Jackets, or sorry, the Blackhawks, excuse me, in a shootout. Nashville and Dallas, and listen, no surprise here. Dallas is red hot. The Preds stink. Dallas on -303 favorite. Preds +250 in their game tonight. Pittsburgh is in St. Louis. The Blues a -227 favorite. We've got the Kings in Utah taking on the Hockey Club LA minus 130 faves. Anaheim's in Calgary. Calgary minus 154. Been talking for the last week how impressed I've been with the fight in Calgary. I think that might have been much like the Jets, I think, closed the casket on Vancouver on Sunday afternoon. I think Utah kind of did that to Calgary. But I don't like, I thought the Vancouver Canucks would be flat and done when they got back. They were. They lost on home ice yesterday to the Kraken. I don't think that'll be the case with the Calgary Flames. They'll fight to the end. We got the Oilers and the Sharks tonight. Oilers minus 294 favorites. And the Jets and Vegas. Winnipeg plus 125. The Vegas Golden Knights minus 147. The total is 5.5. Let's check on some player goal scorers for today. Kyle Connor plus 155. Jack Eichel plus 175. Dorofeyev, what a season he's having. He's 2-1. Nikolai Ehlers plus 220. And Marc Scheifele plus 225. Now, I did put together a WST parlay, which is in the exclusives on the left margin. Click on that, and then you'll see Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay. It is Jets to win. It is Nikolai Ehlers to score a goal, and Josh Morrissey to record a point. So Ehlers goal, Morrissey point, Jets to win. That number's actually gone up. Maybe the odds have changed as well with the goaltending announcement. Plus 750 on the WST parlay for tonight in the exclusives. Now, if you just go to the main page and click on sports, you'll see all the combos in the boost. We did put together a lock shot partner parlay. By the way, for anyone that was with us, Dusty and I were going back and forth. Do we take the Rangers? I kind of like the Rangers. Can we trust them? Probably not. He convinced me to buy in to fade our nemesis, the Blackhawks, and take the Avs puck line. Well, we had the Kraken. We had the other game on the card, the Leafs, and then the Blackhawks did it to us again. They're suspended for the rest of the year. Any Blackhawk game, period, suspensions. We're going with a 4-gamer tonight. Really, we were looking at two games. The Kings at minus 130 and the Calgary Flames at minus 156. That together was like plus 190. So we've added the Blues as a pretty big favorite against Pittsburgh, and we've added Edmonton against San Jose. So it comes out to plus 464. With the boost from Evdog and the fellas, we get it up to plus 534. So the ticket today, if you want to ride with us, the boosted parlay, is the Blues over Pittsburgh, Kings over Utah, Calgary over Anaheim, and the Edmonton Oilers over the San Jose Sharks, plus 534 right now in the combo cards. Points from the point tonight is Lane Hudson, Cale Makar, and Evan Bouchard. What's the Lamplighters is 11-1. Nathan McKinnon, Kyle Connor, and Leon Draisaitl all to score tonight. It's over 11-1. I actually don't mind that one. And then for the community, a lot of ESTers, a lot of WSTers in on Cool Bet. Jets and Oilers, both to win, boosted up to plus 232. If you like the Jets to win, I mean, I'd imagine that Oilers just about a lock against San Jose. You almost may as well take that as opposed to the Jets plus 125. And the Super Boost at minus 105, Luka Doncic over 24.5 points. Nate McKinnon over half a point. So McKinnon to get a point, Doncic to get 25 or more, right around even money at minus 105. All right, let's get Connor back in here. So, I mean, how are you feeling about this game tonight? We've taken care of business. We've broken it down. We know who's playing. We know, well, we know who is for sure playing. We don't know if Luke Shen is playing, which I'll be honest is a bit of a concern. But I think this team has really risen to the occasion a lot this year. And I know there's some people that, you know, anytime the Jets lose, they go right back to April of last year. And, but, you know, I think this team sort of earned the benefit of the doubt for people to be a little bit more positive about this one. Not saying it's going to be easy, not saying they're going to win. You rolled out. It's been a long time since they've beaten Vegas, but, you know, as tough as this situation is, I'm looking forward to this one tonight, and I'm excited to see what Eric Comrie can do in net. And how this team can maybe bounce back from a game that they played quite well, but just killed themselves with some bad mistakes. And credit to the Kings for being very opportunistic.
Yeah, tonight's game, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the 1 p.m. loss. Like the morning skate lines come out and then everyone's, this game, it's over. They lost. And it's like, well, okay, they're the number one team in the league. Like, I don't like that whatsoever. I don't care what the circumstances are. I don't care how long it's been since they won in Vegas, and the fact that they're playing Comrie, like they still have a chance. And I would not be shocked if this team rises to the occasion tonight, like you said, Huss, and bounces back. Like this team has bounced back from losses quite well this season. Early in the year, they had the home and home against Florida. They got smoked against Florida, came back and beat them inside Canada Life Center. Now, this isn't a home game tonight, but I've liked how this team has bounced back from losses this year. And I didn't think they played all too bad on Tuesday outside of a few mistakes. So really interested to see. I would not be shocked also if they lost tonight, given the long losing streak against Vegas in Vegas. But Vegas I'm going to be looking for a bounce back performance tonight. They're very good. Vegas is actually 6 points back of the Jets for the 1 seed in the West. So, hey, maybe they're chasing down their 1 seed in the West, right? This is a big one for the Jets. And I know Remus has brought up these money puck stats on the percentages of the division now and again. So I'll update people of what they have for tonight's game. Jets right now are at a 67% chance to finish first in the Central. A loss tonight in regulation would make that 57%, and a win would make it 76.8%. And that's without even accounting for what Dallas does. Assuming Dallas is going to win, I think that percentage might even come down a little bit further from 57%. So a huge game tonight. Jets need to bounce back. Looking for Eric Comrie to have a big performance, hopefully in net, and snap this long losing streak against Vegas. That would be fun.
I'm already stressing over next Thursday. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Like these games. Listen, I can't wait for Monday for the Blues. I think that's going to be a great test for Winnipeg, and not a great spot. A 3-game road trip out west. You come back for 1 game. But again, you have to be ready to go. The Jets, for the most part, have been throughout the season, but a good start getting the first goal would be huge too, because, much like what happened in LA, you do not want to be playing from a deficit, from a hole against the Vegas Golden Knights. And you need to play the full 60 minutes, because we have seen this team, Vegas in particular, have big third periods against Winnipeg, but against a lot of other teams this year, and turn losses or regulation ties and overtimes into regulation wins. But we're going to see the Lowry gang back together again. We're going to see Cole Perfetti with Nikolai Ehlers and Vlad Nemetsnikov, and we're going to see Cole Perfetti on that first power play unit. Hopefully we can get plenty of opportunities to see that unit do what they can do. And, of course, Jared Anderson Dolan and Eric Comrie starting, Luke Schenn, a game-time decision. Been a very fun show. Great to have Connor with us today, and Andrew doing a great job in Remus's absence today. And Connor, we're going to get a chance to do it all over again tomorrow. And I hope we win for no other reason. Well, for many reasons, but for no other reasons, I hope the Jets win so that we don't have to talk a bunch of our loyal chatters off the ledge tomorrow, because that seems to happen at any sign of adversity right now, despite this team rolling the way they have all year long.
Yeah, Huss, looking forward to tonight's game. It's going to be like a playoff style environment. We've talked about it a lot with the Dallas game, the Washington game, Tuesday's game against LA. But tonight's game isn't the most important game in the city. I've got a men's league playoff game tonight, Huss. So I'm pretty locked in for that. Yeah.
Is it just a single game, or are you guys in a best of 7? What's the
best of 7? Yeah, best of 7, 7 straight days. No, I'm kidding. It's a single knockout, I believe. So a lot of pressure. Hey, pressure is a privilege, right?
What league are you in? What div?
Dakota Div 4. So
all right. Yeah. So big matchup. What's your team called?
Big game. PG. It's parental guidance, because we play with all of our dads. Me and all my buddies, we play with our dads. It's pretty fun. It's a fun time. Yeah.
Well, listen.
Good. Yeah.
Good luck to you and your dad and Team PG tonight. If I have to pick between the 2 wins, you guys are taking the L. The Jets are taking the win. But I don't have a cool bet parlay on a Jets win and a PG win. Should have talked to Jake and Pat and got that up beforehand. But
yeah,
we'll run for it. Anyways, gang, enjoy the game tonight. We'll be cranking it out tomorrow. Going to be a really fun show. We'll have Ken join us from the road. We will also have, I wanted to talk some Jays, and our buddy Johnny Genta from the Gate 14 pod has the boss, the president of the Toronto Blue Jays coming on the show, their biggest win ever. The timing just worked out absolutely perfectly. So Johnny's going to join us tomorrow. We'll have Hacksaw jump on as well. A bunch of rule changes in the NFL and the latest drama with Aaron Rodgers, but we'll be locked in on the Winnipeg Jets. We'll have all the reaction from last night's game. Connor and I will chop it up, and we'll have Ken Wiebe join us from the road as well. So enjoy this one tonight. Thanks for being with us. Great work by Andrew Z making it happen behind the scenes with Remus on the road. And again, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Should be a fun Thursday night. We'll be back with you tomorrow to kick off the weekend and recap Jets Vegas and look ahead to the Jets Utah on Saturday night as this road trip continues. You've been listening and hanging with Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks for doing this. Catch you tomorrow, 1 p.m. live right here on YouTube and later on in the afternoon in your podcast feed.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.